Right, well, we got absolutely battered by Spurs at the weekend. Absolutely battered. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. This is meant to be a Palace daily slash review of the weekend. I've got some points I want to touch on off the back of that result against Spurs. And I did touch on it in the vlog and my thoughts actually on the game. So do check out the vlog. Some great responses to that. So check out the vlog on the channel. I very much appreciate that. But today I wanted to talk a bit about some of the thoughts that I've had after the game. I was thinking about uploading this yesterday, but I think that I needed a day to just, you need a day after a result like that just to settle yourself, let the anger and frustration out of your head. Because then obviously that can cloud your judgment on certain things. But looking back at it, there are some points I wanted to bring up, which is why I'm doing a Palace Daily today. Of course, comment below again, guys, your thoughts on anything Palace related, and I read all the comments. And of course, follow me up down below as well on Patreon as well if you want to request any certain videos that you want me to do in the future, or anything in particular you want me to film. I am always looking for new content on the channel, so do put comments down below or follow me up on social media and contact me in any way, and I will listen to anyone's thoughts on video ideas for the future that you're interested in. But to thoughts in this video, Palace Daily, let's talk about Zaha. Main thing I wanted to talk about with Wilf, it is the performance he had on Saturday. For me, and I know some people who are at the game may disagree, but I think when Palace were on the ball, which was very rare, but when we were in possession of the ball, I think he was one of our best players on the pitch. I think he was the best player for Palace over the course of the 90 minutes, in my opinion. Now, some people will definitely disagree with me, and and to be honest, if people disagree and say someone else, then I'm not going to say that's the wrong at all. I think that's definitely up for interpretation. Whether or not you think that Zaha was the best player for us, I don't think any of them were good particularly, but I think there were signs from Zaha when he was on the ball. He seemed to skin Danny Rose multiple times. He seemed to beat 1-2 players every time he ran forward the ball, and he did look to try and create things and show just how good he is with the ball at his feet in terms of his his low centre of gravity, his dribbling, his ability to make space for other players. He showed that when he was on the ball, in my opinion. Every time he was on the ball, he looked a threat. There were times when we had possession, and off the ball for Wilf, he was very poor with his movement. I thought he didn't test the fullbacks enough with his runs out wide, runs in behind. He was quite static with his movement, which to be fair, he normally is fairly static off the ball. There isn't too much of that movement. Every now and then he does a great diagonal run, or comes and collects the ball. But you can tell at times on the pitch he can be quite stagnant. He'll be walking from an offside position rather than jogging to get back on side and get the ball back. So there are times when he is like that. But the main talking point for me was when full-time whistle blew. Sacco and Wilf were the only two players that I saw anyway. Obviously, comment below if you were there and you saw any other players that were doing this. There were two players that walked straight down the tunnel and didn't come and clap the fans, which was very disappointing to see, especially as they're two of the most influential players in our team when the squad's fully fit. Sacco, I can understand, because I think this was his first game back. I don't think he is fully fit or up to full match speed yet, and going away to Spurs, it's a tough game for your first, start of the new season, coming back from a lengthy injury. So I can forgive Sacco in some respects for walking straight back down the tunnel, even though I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right for any player to do. In some ways, I can understand that. But for Zaha, for him not to clap the fans, to acknowledge the fans at all, it's worrying, and I think that he's clearly got a lot on his mind. The sacking of his agent during the week was obviously a big thing, and I think that it just goes to show that since the transfer window, he's still got all of these thoughts going through his head, like what's his next move. For all the great pictures of him on his social media and on the club's social media, pictures of Will smiling in training and things like that, which gets the fans so upbeat. I know that makes me feel great inside, seeing him smiling at training and knowing that there is obviously he's still happy to be there. For every good picture, there is now something like this that happens on a match day, or just off the pitch. There's news coming out about, oh yeah, there'll be another bid coming in January, etc. And transfer links still happening. It's like this won't end until he goes, unfortunately, and that's just the way it is. But to see him walk off the pitch without coming to the fans after a 4-0 battering away at home. I don't care who it's against, and I don't care how disappointed you are. That's just not right. And it is worrying to see, and I do want to know people's thoughts on it. I know there are a lot of angry people on Saturday evening who mentioned this on Twitter and was saying, yeah, I'll just grab my 150 grand a week and then I'm off down the tunnel. In essence, F you to the fans. That's what a lot of people thought. But I want to know, obviously, comment below your thoughts on that in particular. What's going on with Wilf? What do we do in this situation? For me, he's an undroppable player at the moment, but is dropping him in the for the short term future for Palace the best option for a game or two to let him settle, clear his thoughts, just get back to just focusing on the football and then bring him back? I know we've got a very tough run coming up, which makes it even more difficult to decide what to do with Wilf, but it's a big topic, it's a big discussion, and Zaha's always the centre of discussion, as you guys know. So that's that. Obviously, moving on to the next point I wanted to talk about is what is going wrong with the midfield at times. For me, I feel like there's times when Roy, you don't know whether he knows his best starting 11. That's always worrying as a fan when he's been here for a few years, that he doesn't seem to. I think when everyone's fully fit, it's very rare that you get the same side 3 or 4 games, maybe 5 games in a row. He managed to do the same team against Villa after our win against Man United. That worked, and I thought that, keep that going into carrying on through after the international break. James McArthur had a knock, had to replace him. Understandable. Whether or not Schlupp coming from out wide back into the midfield was the right option or not, it's hindsight's a fantastic thing, but in hindsight, probably not the best move. And Townsend just didn't look like he warranted a start. He was dropped for a reason. From the team, I think he had a poor start to the season, and I think that changing up, putting Schlupp out wide has worked. Why we didn't keep Schlupp out wide and put Camarasa or McCarthy in to the midfield, or Maya? We've got so many actual midfielders now. It feels so weird putting Schlupp in there, because I felt like although Schlupp likes playing in midfield, he's at the end of the day, he's a wing back / winger. That's his starting role. That's the position that we bought him for. I don't know why, when we have so many midfield options now, we're blessed in that department, why we're not putting one of these players in and we're putting Schlupp in the midfield. I do like Schlupp on the pitch. I think he deserves to start, but for me, he's got to start out wide. When we don't have other options, and when maybe the opposition, maybe if we're at home against lower, opposition in and around us, he can start in the midfield for sure. But when we're away to a top 6 side, just do what we did against United. I don't get why it's such a Palace thing, and in many ways I'm not surprised, because this is so typical of Palace. We had the textbook, the textbook away performance to Man United. We showed every team in the league how you set up against a team in the top 4 away from home. We did it last year against Man City. We did it again this year against United. Although United, I know, aren't the best team in the world anymore, they're still a very tough place to go, and especially for Palace, we haven't won there since the 90s. So it's an incredibly tough place to go. A top 4 team in general is a tough place to go. Why didn't we just copy our own system from Man City last year, Man United this year, and implement it against Spurs? Yes, Spurs were definitely up for it, and I think even if we were playing that system, we would have definitely conceded 1 or 2 goals at least, I'm sure, because Spurs were playing fantastic football and were being very, very quick, direct, fluid in their attack, and it was difficult, don't get me wrong, but we would have at least kept it down to, I'd say, 2 goals, and then obviously if you get a goal on the break, all of a sudden it's a 1-goal gap. I think that's just how we didn't just shut up shop. Is beyond me, and I don't know why we were so stretched, why we just lose concentration. For me, I think it's something in the DNA of the club. I'm honestly at that stage now where it's just typical Palace. That's all I can put it down to. We never seem to be consistent. We always seem to have these sort of performances in us. So frustrating, but yes, that's my main issue. The amount of gap, the amount of space that was in between the defence and the midfield on Saturday was unforgivable for me. The amount of time that players like Son, Kane had to drop into that hole, pick up the ball, turn, and then sprint forward at our defence and ping it out wide for crosses to come into the box. It was just unforgivable how much time and space these players had. And also players like the discipline as well. Players like Milivojevic, okay, he came out of that holding role in the middle of the midfield to press a player, maybe entering our half, to press him, push him back into the half. He did that. no one then drops into the space that's been left open by Milivojevic. You had at some points in on Spurs counter-attacks, I was like, where is the midfield? Literally on the screens, you look up and you can't even see, you can see no one. There's the defence and there's just a big green open, and then all of a sudden from out of shot come sprinting Schlupp and Chiarte. It was just so much space, and I don't know what we put it down to. I don't know if it's because of the midfield changing and MacArthur. I don't know whether that's MacArthur is that crucial to our midfield that it causes us to go into meltdown when he's not in there. I don't think that's the case at all, but got to sort it out. And Wolves is now a massive game. We've got to get a result there at least a draw in my mind with the run of games we've got coming up. And it is crazy how our mindset can change after just one game. You know, one game before the Spurs game, it was a fantastic start to the season. Now we go into meltdown because it's a 4-0 battering and we've got a tough run coming up. It's crazy. That's football at the end of the day. But as you can tell, guys, it's more of a review of the Spurs game and my thoughts in general, just gathered into a Palace daily format, but more of a review really of the game. Please let me know your thoughts down below. This has gone on for a bit longer than a typical video on the channel, I know, but I hope you enjoyed it. I'm just getting my thoughts across. Like if you agree. If you don't agree for whatever reason, of course, comment below your thoughts. As always, I read everything. And I really appreciate your support on the channel, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. I will be doing more content later in the week. Thank you. Typical Palace, man. Typical Palace.